Xbox has officially passed PlayStation in monthly active users. All right, guys, before we get into this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're new here, you like daily content, you are in the right place. So as we know, the Xbox strategy, the ecosystem, they want to spread Xbox Game Pass everywhere. And now it is seemingly paying us off. So as we know, the Xbox strategy, it's Game Pass, it's subscription. They want to spread Game Pass everywhere and get as many active users within their ecosystem, no matter where they're playing. It doesn't matter. They don't care. As long as you're within the Xbox ecosystem, they can add it to their numbers and it will increase the chances that you're spending all of your money at Xbox. And last week we got their financial reports and it was pretty bad overall. Everything was down. Gaming revenue was down, all of that type of stuff. But the good news that came out of the financial reports for that quarter was that 120 monthly active users are now a part of the Xbox ecosystem, making it higher than PlayStation. So we have this article here from Tweakdown. It says Xbox is finally beating PlayStation, but only in one way. And they're talking specifically about the monthly active users. And obviously, in general, PlayStation is still a bigger platform. They do better across the entire globe. They have that huge footprint within Japan, which Xbox is slowly trying to grow there. And I think a game like Hi-Fi Rush that just recently came out from Tango Gameworks is going to have a pretty good impact for people wanting to, at the very least, check out Game Pass and check out the Xbox ecosystem, because it's an incredible game. I've played about 5-6 hours or so through it right now. Actually, by the time this video comes out, maybe even more, but I love it. It's one of the coolest games I think I've ever played in terms of the graphic style and the gameplay and all that type of stuff. But this isn't a Hi-Fi Rush video. This is talking here about where Xbox is with their monthly active users. And it says here, the Xbox ecosystem now has 120 million monthly active users, which means this many people are engaged with the Xbox ecosystem across the myriad of devices where it is available, which means they're finally beating PlayStation, which at their last report for PlayStation, I think was at 102 million monthly active users. Actually, it says it right here, 102 million MAUs in Q2 of 2022 for Sony PlayStation. And we see the graph here and we see where it jumped from 100 to 120. That's a 20% increase from their report of their monthly active users 3 years ago. 20% increase. That is a huge increase. And we know Game Pass started in 2017. It started off smaller. It's continued to grow and getting better and better. And as it gets better and better, those monthly active users are going to continue to increase. But this brings us all the way back to the start of this generation, and the main focus for Xbox to grow was their subscription, was their services. A lot of people like to focus on the console sales, and Xbox is doing very well in console sales. Yes, it's behind PlayStation, but if you look what happened last generation with the Xbox One, then you look at the Series X and S right now, they're doing phenomenal from a bounce back to a terrible generation previously. And it's a console that pretty much only sells in North America and in Europe, doesn't sell in Japan. PlayStation has that advantage of being a global console based off of it being around longer and based off of it growing a fan base around the world, and it being a Japanese company. So it has that market pretty much unlocked. Them and Nintendo, they are the major players within that market. And Xbox is really hard to get in there when they're fighting against these two Japanese companies that have been doing it forever and that already have a lot of people's goodwill and loyalty. And Phil Spencer's also talked about the importance of Game Pass and the future. He had an interview with IGN and talked about a lot of things. And one of the things he says here is, well, one thing with Game Pass is we're kind of in uncharted territory in doing what we're doing with Game Pass in the industry. So it's harder for us to go out there and look at examples to help us gauge how fast we should be growing. We're at an all-time high for paid subscribers in Game Pass. It continues to grow. I'm happy with the growth. And what I find super interesting about this is that being at an all-time high after a year in 2022 where we saw Xbox continuously being bashed by everybody, and even as we got close to the end of the year, people just continuously going and making videos and stuff talking about how Xbox has to do better, has to improve, and all this type of stuff because they didn't release a big first-party game for the service, where I was on the same wavelength in terms of I was disappointed they didn't release a big first party game. I thought that they should have had a better contingency plan for releasing more content into Game Pass throughout September, October, November, the last 4 months of the year. The biggest thing there is that you take a look what happened in 2022. You really sit back and you think about it. They had a ton of games. They even had third-party games that were going to be exclusive to Game Pass that are coming out now in 2023, like Atomic Heart. But all of these games got delayed. And then there was the Russia-Ukraine thing that was going on. So all of this crazy stuff played a role in what happened to the games that didn't make it out onto Game Pass. They obviously didn't foresee this coming. You got Starfield and you got Redfall that both got delayed that are going to be coming out in 2023. But no big first-party game, nothing Xbox could go out there and just do an insane advertising campaign, which would push people onto the platform. And they still grew, and they are still at an all-time high for subscribers, which means you look at what's already happened in 2023. We had the Developer Direct last week, and in my opinion, I thought it was an A show. I thought it was perfect. I thought it was by far the best format Xbox has done for any of their shows. We didn't have to sit through hosts, monologues, any just time wasting. We got to go into the studios and literally see these developers talking about the games that they're working on and be passionate about it. And you could see that they all really cared of the information they were giving us. And we got release dates for every game, obviously, except for Forza Motorsport, which should be coming out in 2023. I would be absolutely completely surprised if it got delayed past 2023, but it's supposed to be coming out in the first half as well. And then they shadow dropped Hi-Fi Rush. And Game Pass and Xbox in January so far, in my opinion, is off to a phenomenal start. And if the users are growing when they have a down year, just think about what's going to happen when they start releasing all of their first party stuff, which I mean, they've already started. But think about when Redfall and Starfield come out and Forza Motorsport come out, and then Avowed and Hellblade and the next Gears and just all of these other titles that they have within the works. When they start dropping onto the service, it's going to be insane how this grows, which means for us gamers, I mean, hopefully it means for us gamers that we're going to get more content, whether that's more third-party games in this service, whether that is more things like EA Play coming into this service. We've heard rumblings about maybe Ubisoft. All of that type of stuff could end up happening if Game Pass is continuously successful, and I think it will be. And besides all of the big games, there's all those indie games that indie developers are going to want to get in there as well, especially as the monthly active users grow. So this is all good news. And even with a down year in 2022, especially with things like revenue for Xbox, I think this year is going to be just insane. Some of the numbers we're going to see specifically with the ecosystem, specifically with Xbox Game Pass. And in terms of the revenue, Phil Spencer also comments here and says last year in that quarter, and specifically he's talking about the same quarter because when they do these revenue releases, they're comparing it from year over year. But anyways, he says last year in that quarter, we had Age of Empires, we had Forza Horizon 5, we had Halo Infinite. All of those did really well for us. As we pointed out, we didn't have the big release in that same quarter of this year, which would in some way explain the 12% decline in revenue. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Nintendo, what happens with Sony when they give out their numbers for the same quarterly reviews, because I think in general gaming is just down. I think the MPD results, we saw that the gaming revenues and everything was down. So it's not a surprise that the individual companies are also going to be down. What I really think is important, again, is those monthly active users. And Phil Spencer also talks about Redfall and Starfield and says, really important games for the growth of the service. Spencer believes launching what he views to be great AAA games like those will help create more excitement and growth for Xbox Game Pass, not only during launch, but moving forward. So at the end of the day, I guess the takeaway here is that people, like every other platform, look for the overall content. It isn't just first party exclusive to play on a platform, to subscribe to a service. And now with the lots of great third-party stuff within Game Pass, all the first-party stuff is coming in 2023, and we'll see how it does, and we'll see what other games that we get throughout the upcoming months. That's it for me, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this. What do you think about Game Pass being ahead of PlayStation now for monthly active users? If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here forever, thank you for watching, and thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.